Welcome to my channel, CJ Media. I am Chris, and today we are talking about the Coros Vertix GPS watch. I gotta tell you, I really like this watch. They sent it to me over a month ago, and I have been using it every single day. I have only taken it off really to sleep and to charge it, which has only happened maybe twice since I've owned this watch. This thing has been amazing as far as battery life, design. Let's get into it. I'll tell you all the details. Let's get into it. We're gonna talk about the pros, the things I like. There are a lot. And then we're gonna talk about the cons or changes, things I'd like to see that could either be updated in the future with software or future hardware from Coros. First thing we'll start with is the look. I really like the look of this watch. It has more of a rugged look than the Apex had, which was more sleek design. I like that it's a little beefier or a little meatier. It is a bigger watch, and I really like just the details. This is the all black version, which looks super sweet in my opinion. I have the all black version of the Apex as well. The next thing is the weight. I really felt like this watch might not be the quality I hoped when I pulled it out and put it together. I was really concerned that it felt so light, but I got it on, and one, it feels really good on your wrist because it is light, it's not bulky, the way it wraps around the band. So I figured we would see what would happen and see how it holds up. And as I have used this, just the quality of the buttons, when you're pushing the buttons, you feel that indent, the click, the quality of the crown on it when you spin it, the glass, I really feel it is a high quality watch and it is held up great. So while it is light, I would say that's a really good thing because it doesn't feel heavy and bulky on your wrist. The next thing I like is the band design. One, the way it is removable. It is easy to, when you pull the watch off, unclick the buttons and pull the band off to put on a different band. So if you want different colors, things like that, it is really easy to get these bands on and off. There are multiple things I really appreciate this band design on this watch. I'm a product development guy. I really like the details, and I think they've done their research and figured out some really cool features just in the band. The band is a little bit stretchy. A lot of watch bands are hard, and when you put them on, you have the adjustment holes, and sometimes it feels a little too big, sometimes it feels a little too small. Well, first, they've made this material so it's a little bit stretchy, so there's some give into it. So when you put it on, it doesn't feel super tight, it actually just feels snug. The other thing they have done is the hole adjustments are finer. They are closer together than most watches I have seen. So there are more holes on this band and they are closer together. I overall have fairly thin wrists. I don't like a lot of watch designs where the holes are far apart because the watch is either tight or it's loose. They have done a great job figuring out the right amount of spacing, the flexibility in the band to make the watch feel really good, not too tight, not to the point where it feels like it's pressing on your wrist, but it just feels super comfortable. The last thing about this band I will say is the dual loops for the remaining part of the strap that you have is really great. First, the first loop is held into place. It does not move back and forth. Its location is fixed. That's great. You get the watch band through that loop. The second loop actually has a small little rubber nub inside the loop. So when you put the band through it, it can move back and forth, but that little nub holds it in one of the holes. One of my least favorite thing about past watches is this loop would just slide back and forth. It would come all the way up and then you've got the strap moving around, or it would come off during a run, and it really didn't work. That little nub, I really love that thing. Next, we'll just talk about the overall design, the ruggedness of the actual watch case. The sapphire glass is super strong. I have not scratched it yet. The buttons, the crown, it just feels really, really high quality. The other day, I was taking out my neighbor's trash cans. They're traveling. I went back to grab their trash cans. When I reached around the trash can, I slammed my watch into their metal gate that's painted white. As soon as I hit it, I pulled it back and was thinking, I haven't done my review yet. I just scratched this watch. Darn it. Looked at it, there was white on it, there was white on the glass, there was white on the crown and the edge of the case. I simply wiped it off and realized there wasn't a scratch on this watch. I had actually scratched the paint right off of the gate and did not hurt the watch at all. Hope my neighbors aren't watching this, but I will say the case, the design, the buttons, it just seems super rugged, super high quality. Additionally, on the screen, I will say I really appreciate the fact that this watch is not a touchscreen. I own touchscreen smartwatches, fitness watches. I do not like having a touchscreen on a watch like this. When I am out running in the rain or I'm sweaty and my sleeve is rubbing on the watch and changing things or pausing it, that really upsets me. I do not like the fact that the touchscreen can be easily manipulated without you actually touching it because you're doing other things. The other thing I really don't like about the touchscreen is in the winter, you've got gloves on and you can't necessarily get to the buttons. All the navigation on this watch can be done by the two buttons and the crown, which also has a button. It is super easy to navigate through the menus. I think they've done an amazing job on the UX. It is clean, it is intuitive. It's just simple. They've done a really great job. I think they've nailed that. I actually had a con in regards to the user interface and the way it worked, but as I started to do more research on this review to make sure I wasn't wrong, I learned they took care of the problem I was facing. I was running into cases where I would be hiking or running and I'd get to a point where I had to climb up hills and my hand was actually pushing the crown in, which was pausing the watch. Or when I was swimming, I would come to the wall and realize somehow either the water or my wrist was pausing the watch, so I wasn't counting laps. And it would always be like 10 or 15 minutes later when I realized it, which would make me so angry. I hate when that happens. I hate when I pause my watch, don't turn it back on. I hate even worse when the watch pauses and I didn't do it. Well, as I got into it, I realized there is a feature in the watch, in the settings, where you can determine when the watch locks. It locks by default when you're just using the watch normally throughout your day. When you go to touch the buttons, it won't do anything. You have to spin the crown and then it'll unlock. Well, you can enable that same feature when you're in a workout. So once you start a workout, the watch will lock. You have to spin the crown in order to pause it or to stop the workout. I don't mind spinning the crown. It is not a big deal if that stops me from pausing the watch during a workout accidentally. The next really cool thing about this watch, one of the biggest reasons I would say to buy it, is the battery life. This watch has more battery life or longer battery life than any other GPS watch on the market. You can get up to 150 hours in the Ultra Max mode, which means it's not taking GPS readings as often, but if you're going on a super long hike, you can run it in that mode. When it's running in full GPS mode, meaning it's the most accurate, you will get 60 hours of running time with this thing, which is amazing. That is a really long time. And if you're just wearing the watch without doing any workouts, it's 45 days before charging. Like I've said, I've owned this watch over a month and I have only charged it twice. And that's been because I was going out on a really long run and I wanted to make sure it was charged. When it started to get around 40%, I just felt like I needed to charge it. But I'll tell you, I've gone on some really long bike rides, runs. I come back, it's only down like 3 or 4%. It is amazing what they've done with the battery life on this. Whatever they've done, whatever magic they've put in here, however they've done it, they've done a great job with the battery life. One of the big features that Coros is marketing on this watch for the ultimate adventurer is the waterproof depth. This thing can go 150 meters underwater, which is pretty insane. That's almost 500 feet. I love going diving when I'm on vacation, so I love knowing that I have a watch that I don't have to worry about how deep I can take it, because I can guarantee you I won't be going over 500 feet anytime soon. Another feature Coros is pushing for that ultimate adventure is the blood oxygen level monitoring. It is a very cool feature. I will admit I have not been to altitude more than twice since I've had this, and when I did exceed 8,200 feet, the watch would alert me and tell me that I have reached the altitude. It's going to start monitoring my blood oxygen level, and you can read it. You can also read it anytime you want. Like, I've read it at sea level just to see how well it works. You go into the altitude mode and you turn it on, and it takes about 30 seconds or so, maybe longer. A normal person's blood oxygen level should be between 100 and 95%. I've been between 98 and 100 testing it here at sea level. I am excited to take this with me to Colorado, where I'm going to be over 9,000 feet, up to 13,000 for a week. So I'll be able to monitor it and give you the results, how well it has worked. The cool thing is if it's below 95, it will let you know, which means your oxygen level is starting to get too low. That could be why you might be having a headache. And the watch will actually tell you when it's safe to continue to climb. So I'm looking forward to testing that more. The other thing this watch has is a heart monitor. A lot of the watches now have built-in heart monitors. Is reading it through your wrist. And I will say that overall, it works pretty good. I would say it works like the rest of my watches that read heart rate monitor through the wrist. I treat it as a monitor, just where am I at? I'm not really using it for critical data. If you want really accurate heart rate monitor data for intervals, things like that, heart rate zones, I would recommend using a third-party strap for that is compatible with the watch. You can just connect it really easy in the menus. I have the Wahoo strap. I also have the speed sensor and the cadence sensor. They all connect to this watch. The data seems to work really well. The heart rate monitor works great. So I would say while the heart rate monitor is a nice feature to have, gives you an idea when you're running, am I kind of feeling that perceived effort? Is that matching what I know my heart rate to be? That works fine on the watch. I think that's great. Now the watch does have routes, which I think are really cool. If you've done a workout, you can actually favorite that or download that as a route that you're going to do again later. Or you can take a GPX file that you've downloaded for a route or that you've created online. You can load that in the watch and then follow that route on the watch. It's not a map, but it is a route, so you can stay navigating on the line to make sure you're following the right path. And that's plenty for me. I'm not a big maps person on my watch or even a route person. Most of the routes I run, I know, or I have a map on my phone. I'm not depending on my watch for the map of where I'm going. Routes would be perfectly fine for me. The other thing this watch can do is give you alerts and text messages, things like that from your phone. One of the things I really like is the fact that in their app, you can go in and decide what alerts you're going to receive. On this watch, all I really care about are text messages and phone calls, and the watch vibrates when those come in. I can read the text messages on the phone, or I can answer a phone call if I want, if I have my headphones in, or it just lets me know that the call's coming in. Otherwise, you can tell it to notify you of other things on your phone. It gives you a whole list that's broken down. You can enable or disable those features that you prefer. I honestly, all I care about are text and phone calls when I'm on a run. I don't really want to know any other alerts that are coming in. Last thing I will talk about in the pros column is the app and the syncing. I will say I have had bad experiences in the past with watches syncing to apps. I just haven't been happy, haven't had success. Well, this watch has been flawless. When you open the app after a workout, it takes about 5 seconds. It'll immediately start loading as soon as you open the app. Boom, once it is up there, if you have it connected to some other service, like I use Strava, it immediately loads it to Strava. I have had so many issues with other services where it needs to take that file from the app and load it to their cloud, and then eventually it'll get loaded to Strava or wherever you're sending it. That is not the case. As soon as the data from your workout loads on the app, it'll immediately load it to the third-party service like Strava. It is there almost instantly. I love the syncing on this watch. Now, as far as the app, I've heard people online saying that the app is really simple, it's not full featured. Well, honestly, I feel the app does everything I need it to do. It syncs really fast. It has your daily data. You can go through a calendar and see the history that you have and what you did on those days. Each workout you can dig into and get the details of that workout. You can see the maps, whatever it was, wherever you went, You can see your speed, your elevation, your heart rate, your zones, your pace, your mile breakdowns, all of those things. In swims, it'll give you your per lap pace. I feel like the watch app gives you all the details you need or all the details I need, and I haven't found anything the app didn't give me. Plus, like I said, I use Strava. So all of this data is gonna be sent up to Strava or to whatever third party you're using, and it has everything that I need there. I haven't seen anything in the app that is missing that I need as what I would say, a regular GPS watch user. All right, I am done praising this watch. Those are all of my likes. Like I said, I really like the watch, but there are some things I would like to see changed in the future or things that could be improved. The first thing is a hardware change that I would like to see changed on future models. Because I like to do multi-day, 72-hour runs like the Beyond Limits Ultra, I want this running in full GPS mode. So that means I am gonna run through the battery before the race is over. So what I would like to be able to do is charge this while I'm on the go. For the person that's not doing anything like that, these 3 or 5 or 6 day continuous races where you're actually gonna run the battery out before you're done, you can use ultra mode, but ultra mode is not as accurate. So if the course is really technical or it's moving around a lot or it's a loop course, the ultra modes just aren't that accurate. So I want the full GPS mode. So what I wanna be able to do is take this watch off, plug the charger in, but I want the charger to either magnetically attach or be really fitted sleek to the watch body so that I can just plug it into a USB battery, throw it in my pack, let the watch keep running while it's charging and tracking where I'm going. I'm not gonna get heart rate unless I'm using a strap, but mainly I just wanna be able to charge it while it's running in full GPS mode. The issue I feel is the way that plug goes into the back, it is going to have too much leverage, too easy to knock it off there. It's not really made for that. So I've actually given that feedback to Coros. I think if they could go with more of a magnet, something that's stuck on the back that wouldn't be knocked off, that I kind of fold up, that would be the one hardware improvement I would love to see on future watches. The second thing I would like to see done in this, which I know they can probably do in firmware, is the ability for me to increase the brightness of the display. I know it has a backlight, you can turn that backlight on and off, but I want it to be a little bit brighter throughout the day. My eyes are kind of going, I am getting old, so I would like to be able to, when I'm indoors or when it's bright outside, I'd like to be able to read it a little bit better, and I'd be willing to sacrifice battery life. Again, 45 days of battery life or 60 hours. If I need to charge it twice as often, I'm not really worried about that. If I can control that brightness and turn it down when I need longer performance, but on a day-to-day where I'd like it to be a little brighter all the time, I'd like to be able to turn that brightness up a little bit without having to turn the backlight on or turn the backlight on all the time. Now, something else I would like to see, which might alleviate the need to do a brightness adjustment on the watch, is a watch face with a white background. I feel like if they had a face that had a white background, because most of the watch faces are all black with white text, but if they had a white background on the watch face with black text and numbers, that would help a lot with being able to read it. So if they can add that in a future update, I think that would help a lot with the readability in when you're indoors or when there's direct sunlight. They do that when you're in a workout. When you are in a workout and you start a run, the face is white and the text is black, which is great because it's super easy to see. I would just like to have that option added as a watch face. That way, it makes it easier to see. Again, I'll sacrifice some battery life with that watch face just to make it a little more readable. Now, the last thing I will list as a con, which would be for someone other than me, because I don't mind not having these features, but are a few more smart watch type features. People like to be able to play their music or control their music from the watch. I don't listen to music when I work out, so that's not a big deal for me. I don't mind it at all. Another thing is I don't use Apple Pay or things like that. Being able to make payments from the watch is not that important to me. I always have my phone with me, so I can just use that. So while some people I've seen say that it would be nice if there was some more smart features on there, I actually like the fact that those features aren't there. They're not making the watch harder to use, adding more menus, more nested things I have to use the button to try and figure out, when all I really want this watch to do is do a really good job at tracking my workouts. So I'll list it as a con. But honestly, I don't mind not having those there, but some people do like those, so I've put it in there just so you know it doesn't have those things. So I'll close this out by saying I really, really like this watch. The quality, just everything about it. I am a big fan. I'm going to continue using it. I can't wait to take it to Colorado and actually get some high altitude experience with it. But when it comes to the price of the watch is $699. Some people may say, whew, that is steep. But what you have to think about is there are 3 major features with this watch, and do you need those? For me, battery life was a really, really big deal. I wanted a watch with the longest battery life possible because I want this thing to be able to go for days, and that's what this watch will do. The second thing is, if you are that adventurer that is going to altitude, you want to be able to monitor your blood oxygen level, you want to be able to accurately monitor the altitude that you're at, those features, that is another key reason to buy this watch. And third and final reason would be if you're going to dive and you want that watch to be able to go really deep underwater, that 150-meter depth is a really cool feature. So those are the 3 big decision makers I feel would push you to this watch. It's the depth that it can do 150 meters. It is the battery life of 150 hours, 45 days without using the GPS, or 60 hours in full GPS mode. That is the big one for me. And then it's the blood oxygen level monitoring, the ability to monitor altitude, tell you when it's safe to continue to go up. Are you in trouble? Has your blood oxygen level dropped below a safe amount? That is the third feature that I would say are gonna be the reasons that you really want to buy this watch. Now, if that price is just too steep or you just don't need those features, I highly would recommend checking out the Apex, because essentially the software, the interface is all extremely similar. The quality of this watch, this is the one I had first, the Apex, and I really, really like it. It comes in 2 sizes. It's $299 to $349 for the larger one, and that is this one. And honestly, this watch has just about everything I need. The battery life is shorter, which is the reason I would prefer to have the Vertix, but overall, the Apex is a great watch. So if that price is just a little too high, then I would recommend looking at the Apex as the possible solution for you. That is it for the review. I am all done. Those are all the pros, those are the cons. Overall, I like the watch, like I said. I also like the Apex. But if you like this review, you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps me out. It helps the video. Also, subscribe if you want to be notified when future videos come out. I post weekly, sometimes more than that, reviews as well as my training and lifestyle vlog. Hit that subscribe button. I appreciate all of your guys' support. I always appreciate your comments, and I will talk to you soon.